The UFC is back, and it is back big with a massive pay-per-view. This weekend, we have a title fight in the main event. We have a co-main event that is also a title fight, and we have multiple main card fights that directly impact the rankings. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC 311 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings plays. But before I do that, let me show you some of the success that our community has had playing DraftKings Fantasy. If you don't know what DraftKings Fantasy is, it's daily fantasy. Think your fantasy football league or your fantasy baseball league. You draft a team of fighters inside of a budget. You then take that team, you compete against other people throughout the world, and if you have a good lineup, you can make some very real money. It's a ton of fun. It really enhances your UFC viewership experience, and you could do it for free or you could do it for money. These people here happen to do it for money, and they happen to make over $700,000 in the last year or so. All of these people are premium members. These are people who have gone to WeWantPicks.com. They've used the tools. They pay $10 a month to have access to everything that we do, and they have taken? Is taken the word? Taken? They've brought down some large tournaments and made some very real money. One of the things that we offer inside of this package, if you will, the $10 a month, is DraftKings ownership projections. If you know what that means and why that's important, you should also know that we quite literally have the best ownership projections on planet Earth. It is an objective fact. It is undeniable. Week in and week out, you see a slide almost exactly like this one, showing you everybody else's ownership projections and then ours, and how our ours were the best ones. Those ownership projections will be preloaded inside of the DraftKings Optimizer. This is a tool that just builds lineups for you. It's preloaded with everything you need. You click a few buttons, it'll spit out your lineups. You can then use those lineups to build an entry. Every single thing that you need to build a successful DraftKings fantasy lineup, a FanDuel fantasy lineup, all picks, bets, tools, everything. $10 a month, one single package for an entire month, every single event for that 30-day period or 31-day, depending on the month, is included for $10. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top, and you are off to the races. Let's go ahead and break down this card. This is a good card. We have 14 fights. We have 2 late replacements, but we have 14 fights overall. This is an absolutely stacked card. I'll walk you through the new people. We'll walk you through the old people, and we're going to break this down bottom to top. Opening up the UFC 311 fight card, we have Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Clayton Carpenter. Tagir Ulanbekov, kind of a big favorite here. In real life, on betting odds, he's a 3-1 favorite. And I get it. Offensively, he's a very good wrestler. He'll push forward. He's got a nice little jab. He's got a takedown right behind it, and he'll kind of stay in your face. This is a little tricky, though, because his takedown defense is very different than his takedown offense. Offensively, 2 takedowns, 4 takedowns, 5 takedowns, right? Defensively, Tim Elliott came forward, took him down, and he had no answer there. And that's what's going to make this fight a little tricky, because Clayton Carpenter is a young kid, not nearly as experienced as Tagir, clearly. But he's also been traveling the world since he was a boy, competing in different martial arts. He's a very good wrestler. He comes forward. He's got all the skills. Slick grappler. He'll take chances grappling. He'll shoot offensive takedowns. Striking definitely needs some work. We saw that in this Lucas Rocha win. He got the win, but his striking was like, that's not very good. This is an interesting fight to break down, because while I do think Tagir wins, I think that UFC level experience is probably going to be the difference here. Clayton Carpenter could Tim Elliott him. He could just say, I don't care about this shit. Come forward, shoot his takedowns, and grind. But until I've seen a performance like that from Clayton at this level, I'm just going to have to assume that the more seasoned veteran is going to get it done. Quick side note here. Last fight, Tagir Ulanbekov got on the scale, missed weight, was holding his stomach, limped off. They canceled the fight. He hasn't weighed in yet. I'm filming this before the weigh-ins. So if he looks a little sketchy at weigh-ins, we might have a weird situation here. But I am going to go with Tagir. At $8,900, though, I just don't know if he's going to be worth that money. Historically, he has been, but this is an interesting fight. We got 14 fights to break down. We have 28 fighters to choose from while building lineups. If you're using the optimizer, this optimizer here, available for premium members, when you are setting your exposure, definitely have some exposure to Clayton Carpenter. He could be a sneaky play on this card. Then we have Benardo Sopaj taking on Ricky Turcios. Benardo Sopaj is a guy. Well, first of all, this fight was supposed to happen a couple months ago at UFC Vegas 100. Ricky had some sort of issue after weigh-in, so they canceled the fight. Now it is fully rebooked. Bernardo Sopaj is a guy that has found himself as a massive favorite, even though he was just knocked into oblivion in this fight against Vinicius Oliveira. The reason he's a favorite here is because even though Vinicius Oliveira gave him a borderline career-ending flying knee to the face, Bernardo looked good. He had some takedowns. He came forward. He was hanging in the striking. It's like, wow, Bernardo's good. This kid has skills. And then he ate the knee against the cage, and like he went bad limp. Like it was bad. Like you watch that and you're like, this kid's never going to be the same again. But here he is. We don't know if he's going to be the same yet, but we'll find out. Bernardo Sopaj is a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's a high energy striker. He's got good power. He's got good speed. And as I mentioned, he's got some nice takedowns as well that he times behind some of that power and speed. Again, this knockout was very, very bad. And I don't know what that means for the longevity of his chin. It doesn't completely matter, if you will, because Ricky Turcios isn't a big power guy. So it's not like Bernardo Sopaj's chin is only 80% back and Ricky's going to test it. Ricky's not testing anybody's chin. What Ricky will do is test your cardio. And he will test your will because Ricky will come forward with 100% energy for an entire fight. He will not let off the gas for a half a second. Just stay in your face busy. Stay in your face busy. Stay in your face busy. Ricky Turcios is not great at anything, but he has insane pressure, insane cardio, and very good scrambles. If you look at this fight, you'll say, oh, he got submitted by Chiwiwi. And yes, Chiwiwi submitted him. But if you go back and you watch that first round, Ricky looked real good. He had Raul Rosas Jr.'s back, had him in a rear naked choke. Raul Rosas has no chin whatsoever. It just goes like top of the mouth Adam's apple. Like it goes like this. There's no chin. So there was nothing to choke, which made it kind of a pain there. But the reality is Ricky Turcios is good, great scrambler, created some chaos in that fight. He could create chaos here too. I actually think Ricky Turcios in your DraftKings lineup isn't the worst thing in the world. I don't know if I trust Bernardo Sopaj at these wildly inflated odds. Bernardo's the better overall fighter, right? Skill for skill, but pace and pressure are enough to win some fights. Then we got Rinya Nakamura taking on Muin Gafurov. Let's take a look. Rinya Nakamura, 91 points, 85 points, 139 points. I think Rinya may be worth the money. And I'm saying may because he's $9,600 and he has only ever covered that salary one time. He was 96 in his last fight. He was 96 in the fight before that. And while he's winning dominantly, this guy has never lost a round. He's had 7 rounds under the UFC umbrella. He won all of them. He hasn't been covering that salary. I think this is more of the same. I think he wins this fight. I think he gets the takedowns, does what he wants to do. Rinya Nakamura is a high-level, decorated wrestler who's been competing on all sides of the world and then transitioned to MMA. And when he came to MMA, obviously he brought the wrestling with him. He also brought insane power in his hands and very slick jiu-jitsu. He's not a lay and pray guy. He has really nice grappling skills as well. He is fighting Muin Gafurov, the Tajik. I thought it was Tajik Eagle. This just says Tajik, but I think, anyway. Muin Gafurov's supposed to be. If you didn't see his last fight and you heard the breakdowns before that, it's like he's a good wrestler. He's a dog. All these things. Turns out, wrestling's not great. Wrestling's not as good as we thought it was. He is a dog. He will plant his feet and just fire away and make a fight a fight. But his wrestling is not as good, at least defensively, as it needs to be. Kyung-Ho Kang took him down 3 times. 3 times. He only got 1 takedown. Kang took him down 3 times. If Kang is taking you down 3 times, Rinya Nakamura is doing whatever the hell he wants. Rinya absolutely wins this fight. One of my most confident picks. The question just becomes, will he cover his salary? If he can keep Muin down, no, he won't cover his salary. If Muin keeps popping up, keeps getting taken down, then he absolutely will. If he can finish Muin, who is very tough, might be hard to finish, similar type situation. I think I am going to shoot my shot, though. At the end of the day, I'm trying to find winners. I'm trying to build a lineup with 6 winners. And then you build enough lineups that hopefully you get the perfect one. So I probably will shoot my shot with Rinya Nakamura. Then we have Carol Rosa taking on Ailin Perez. Carol Rosa is a good fighter. I'm about to pick against her. But Carol Rosa is a good fighter. She's a busy striker. She's landing almost 6 significant strikes per minute. But she's mostly a decision fighter. Look, decision. 20 fights in the UFC, all of them decisions. It's obviously not 20, but you get my point. She has 10 fights in the UFC. She has 12 takedowns in those 10 fights. She can sneak in some takedowns. She's a very well-rounded fighter. She's got good striking. She's got good defensive wrestling, decent offensive wrestling. She's a well-rounded fighter. She is certainly the best fighter that Ailin Perez has ever fought, but I do think Ailin Perez can get it done. Ailin Perez has established herself as not only a naughty girl, but also a good wrestler. She'll come forward, she'll touch up a little bit, and then she'll shoot takedowns. Are they the best takedowns in the world? No. They're a bit sloppy. Is she going to get all of her takedowns? No. What she will do is stick with them. Continue to come forward. Continue to shoot. Continue to grind. It seems like her cardio is fantastic. Ever since she beat Ashley Evans-Smith, it was like, damn. Like, this Ashley Evans-Smith fight was the performance of a lifetime. It was incredible. 10 takedowns. So obviously her control sucks. Somebody should not be standing up on you 9 freaking times. So the control isn't there, but the cardio was incredible. And I think we can get a similar performance. Even Lucy Pudilova didn't have the most takedowns, struggled a bit, but she got it done. And she put up 88 points. She's $7,600. Betting-wise, this line is continuing to widen. More and more money is coming in on Karol. More and more people are looking at this fight and saying Ailin's going to lose. And I don't get it. I understand thinking Karol wins. I get it. She's a very good fighter. She's the better fighter. But Ailin Perez is good enough at one thing and has good enough cardio to get the takedowns, stay out on top, and beat Karol Rosa. I think she's going to be able to do it. $7,600, the sub 8,000 price point. I'm going to shoot my shot with Ailin Perez. If you're squarely undersized, you think she sucks and she's too focused on OnlyFans, fine, then don't do it. Jesus Christ. Don't do it then. God. So willing. What I don't want to see is some dweeb dork with no confidence whatsoever in the comments. I was positive Karol was going to win. And then you don't let me convince you of shit, bro. Damn, man, fucking nut up. I don't know who I'm yelling at, but screw that guy. Pussy. Anyway, we got Grant Dawson taking on Diego Ferreira. Grant Dawson's a guy, historically, one of the most boring fighters you'll ever watch. Historically. But in his last fight, right, he finishes Rafa Garcia. Then he says, you could bounce a quarter off my wife's ass. And everybody's like, oh, Grant Dawson's so funny. Grant Dawson's the best. Maybe. We'll see. If he gets a finish in this fight, then Grant Dawson turned the corner. Prior to this fight, what you're going to get from Grant Dawson is a lot of wrestling and not a lot of action. Let's look at this Joe Solecki fight. 3 takedowns, 14 minutes and 46 seconds of control. How long is the fight, guys? 15 minutes. How long is it? Or no, let me rephrase that. What's the time difference between 14 minutes and 46 seconds and 15 minutes? 14 seconds. 14 seconds. There was only 14 seconds of striking in a 15-minute fight. That tells you everything you need to know about Grant Dawson. The good news is the guy puts up numbers. 9,000 salary, 114 points in the last fight. He did find a finish there. 108 in the most boring fight you've ever seen in your entire life. 90 submitting Damir Ismagulov. 103 beating Mark Madsen late in the 3rd round, an Olympic wrestler. Grant Dawson is boring as hell, but what Grant Dawson is reliable. Now, this is going to be a trickier fight than usual because Diego Ferreira is a dog. He's got some dog in him. He's not a quitter. Diego Ferreira just beat Rebecca in a fight where he was taken down several times. 4, to be exact. But he stayed tough. He never stopped, and he got that win late. This could be a similar situation. Diego Ferreira could basically do the exact same thing. Get taken down over and over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, he's a dog. He's there. He gets it done. I don't think that's going to happen. It's possible. Grant Dawson's chin is borderline non-existent. We saw it disappear into thin air. Just poof. Into thin air. We saw it happen when he fought Bobby Green. Now, King Green. I'm not going to pick Diego. I'm not going to draft Diego. I might draft Grant Dawson because, again, I'm trying to pick winners who can just come forward, stay steady Eddie. People you can trust matter here. I think I can trust Grant Dawson to be boring is the moral of this story. And if he's boring, he wins. If he tries to be exciting, it's going to be a problem for him. Luckily for us, the guy doesn't give a shit if he's exciting. Then we got Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan Guskov getting a new opponent. He was supposed to fight Johnny Walker, and it was like the pick of the century. He's going to knock out Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker has no chin. He hasn't had a chin for years. Johnny Walker sucks. He's 6'9". He's athletic. The guy gets smoked. But now, Johnny Walker's gone. Bogdan has a new opponent. I imagine Bogdan's strategy isn't going to change. The guy hits like a freight train. He has some wrestling if the striking's not going well or taking a little too long. But essentially, Bogdan Guskov is a striker working on the other skills who has very real power in his hands. He's coming off this incredible win over Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann has been a ranked guy for a long time, and Bogdan Guskov put him out. That was very, very impressive. Far more impressive than Zach Pauga. That guy sucks. He's even losing on the regional scene. If we take a look at his new opponent, Billy Elekana. No data here because he's a UFC debut and he is stepping up on short notice. Billy Elekana is also a striker, but he doesn't have... Son of Susie is his nickname? Is his mother's name Susie? Or is this like some cultural thing I don't know about? Son of Susie. Angelo, son of Maria. The fuck? God damn, Billy. I was about to give you... You know what's here's the coolest nickname I've ever seen. There's this guy, Jeff Nader. I know him he's from Massachusetts. I'm from Connecticut. He fought somebody I was managing. And his nickname is Scary Nickname. It's one of the best nicknames I've ever heard. And he's like the least scary guy in the world. He's like super nice, funny dude. Like, yeah. So him to go up there and they're like, Jeff, Scary Nickname, Nader. That incredible nickname. Son of Susie? What the hell is that? Hey, tell Susie I said what's up. Like, what is that? Explain it to me in the comments if it's a cultural thing that I'm missing. Like, maybe it means something. I don't know. The fucking son of Susie. Anyway, Billy Elekana, his mother's name is Susan, and he's a good striker. He's not a powerful striker. He's not insanely fast, but what he does do is he manages range really, really well, and he's got good counter striking. He has no problem staying on the outside, letting you come to him. He'll even back up. He'll step off. He will... I don't want to say slow the pace because he's not like doing nothing, but he will make sure the pace is where he wants it. He will make sure that he's not in a firefight. And then once he's lulled you into his like chase me, chase me, chase me is when he will start to commit because you're going to see some knockouts on his record. That's not him coming forward like, bah, bah, let's make something happen. That's him lulling you, backing you up, luring you in, and then stepping off and making it go there. Billy Elekana... I said that wrong. Billy Ellen, okay. Susie's son is going to come in here, probably walk backwards the majority of this fight, stay out of harm's way, but still lose. I think Bogdan gets the win. I just don't know if Bogdan's going to finish him. The bet I have on this fight, if you give a shit about bets, is the over on the round line. I think this fight goes a little long because of Billy running backwards. So we'll see what happens here, but... I don't know enough about Billy's chin to really plant my flag. He doesn't have a ton of fights, and in the fights he has had, he's not really getting hit very clean. So I don't know if Bogdan's just going to put this dude out and it's like, there you go, of course. Or if it's just going to be a weird decision where Billy's dancing around backwards and Bogdan really can't connect clean, but Bogdan wins the decision. Fading them both. I'm going to pick Bogdan to win. I'm not throwing either one of them in my DraftKings lineup. Then we have Jailton Almeida taking on Serghei Spivak. Just go to the Rinya Nakamura breakdown and repeat it here. Jailton Almeida is a wrestling beast. A freaking wrestling beast. The guy has taken down anybody and everybody without trouble whatsoever. Literally with ease. Just whoop, boom, down, whoop, boom, down, whoop, boom, down. It's insane. Once he gets on top, people can't get rid of him because he's got great top control. He's ridiculously strong and he's busy. And he's not sloppy busy. He's busy. The one and only loss here in the UFC was against Curtis Blades. Let's take a closer look, guys. 9 takedowns. 9 takedowns. He was ragdolling the person who was widely known as the best wrestler in the heavyweight division. Ragdolling him. The only reason Jailton lost that fight is because he shot his 10th takedown and was just like, I don't know what happened. Grabbed the leg, just started dreaming about God knows what, and just eating shots inside the head, and then that was it. Literally like 30 unanswered shots for no reason. If he moved his hips, he gets another takedown. He's got 10 takedowns, and he's cruising. The point to all of this is that Jailton Almeida is not a human being. His ability to throw anybody to the ground like they weigh nothing is wildly impressive. Jailton Almeida is the real deal. I will be spending the $9,500, but let's do Serghei Spivak the courtesy of breaking him down. Serghei Spivak has been evolving. He's been getting better because if you go back to 2021 and watch this Alexei Olenek fight, quite literally the sloppiest fight I've ever seen in my entire life. Me, right now, at 40 years old, with all the extra holiday weight, would have beaten Serghei Spivak on this fight on June 19th, 2021. I'm not even fucking around. I'm 1,000% serious. My lifetime of wrestling and my jiu-jitsu, which isn't as good as his, would have beaten him on this night. 100%. It was the sloppiest thing I ever saw in my entire life. Then he came out, Tom Aspinall smoked him, but we didn't quite know how good Tom was yet. Then he started to put it together. I don't know where he cleaned it up and what, but then he started to put it together and he started to beat actual fighters. Greg Hardy sucks, I get it, but he beat him. Sakai, another guy who's a good striker, can't really grapple, beat him. Derek Lewis, we all know, can't really grapple, beat him. Tsarukyan just smoked his ass. And then he beat Tybura with a nice little armbar. The Tybura win is by far his best win. It also has people convinced that Serghei's this phenomenal grappler and Jailton doesn't have to worry about shit. Jailton's going to throw this dude to the ground like he's your little brother and then just wail on him and get the finish. That's how this fight's going to go. Jailton will be in my lineup. I'm almost positive this dude wins early and wins by finish, but obviously it's the fighting game. Anything can happen. Then we got Peyton Talbot taking on Hani Barcelos. Peyton Talbot, I believe, you guys will let me know, and I encourage you to. If I'm wrong, I believe $9,900 for his DraftKings fantasy salary is quite literally the highest salary. I've never seen a $10,000. I think, is $9,900 the most? Bo Nickel wasn't even $9,900. Amanda Nunes wasn't $9,900. I think this is the most ever. Peyton Talbot's a prospect for sure. A very real prospect. The UFC's pushing the shit out of him. This matchup was made to showcase Peyton Talbot's skills. He's fast. He's athletic. He's dynamic. He can do anything. He can do it all. We haven't really seen him pushed. We haven't really seen him in trouble, but he can do all the things. Outstriking Cameron Saman the way he did. I mean, Giannis Kamori, that win, Giannis shouldn't be in the UFC. That guy's absolutely fucking terrible. And all right, fine. Nick Aguirre. Okay. I mean, that's first UFC fight is what it is. The Cameron Saman win was solid. Peyton Talbot's good. He's got all the skills. He's only 9-0. He's quickly improving. You can see the improvements fight after fight. He is fighting by far the most accomplished, the most established fighter he has ever fought before in Hani Barcelos. I've been high on Hani in the past, to my detriment. Thought he would beat Kyler Phillips. Didn't think he would beat Nurmagomedov, but said it would be very competitive. That wasn't true. Thought he would smoke Victor Henry. Didn't happen. I picked against him with Timur Valiev. But Hani is a guy that maybe I'm too high on because it hasn't really gone in my favor that often. But Hani Barcelos is a 5-time Brazilian national wrestling champion. Is that American wrestling? Is it Georgian wrestling? No, but it's still something. 5-time Brazilian national champion wrestler. He's a good wrestler, and he went back to his wrestling roots in this fight against Christian Quinones. Flashes of a younger Yanni, but he's old. He's slowing down. He's not what he used to be. He doesn't really have the chin. It is what it is. Hani's not going to win this fight. The question becomes, how many points will Peyton score in a win? He also is probably going to be the highest owned fighter. We do have quite literally the best DraftKings ownership projections on the planet. So if you care about that while you're building your lineups, take a look at the ownership projections and do your own thing, or use the optimizer, which will be preloaded with the ownership projections. The reason I'm mentioning this is because you may have to have Peyton in your lineup because everybody else does too. Or you have a tiny bit of exposure on the other side, which not really recommended. Or you just leave Peyton Talbot out of your lineup because maybe we get a perfect lineup, without him because he doesn't score as many points to his salary and it frees up some other money. We'll see how it goes. If this is a favorite heavy card, then Peyton not in your lineup is the way to go. If this is a card where we got a bunch of good dog wins, then Peyton in your lineup is fine because then there's enough money to afford some of these more risky dogs, if you will. Peyton should absolutely win this fight. I don't think I'm going to spend the $9,900 personally. Then we have Rinya de Rider taking on Kevin Holland. This is a fight that people are very, very, very split on. Rinya de Rider was a two-time champion abroad. ONE FC. He was the middleweight champion and the light heavyweight champion of the world. He's a big guy for this weight class. He's a good grappler. Comes forward, can get a takedown with that reach, with the size. And on the ground, he's got very good, very dangerous jiu-jitsu. He just submitted Jared Mearshard, who is a good grappler in his own right. The problem is his striking's not very good, and he's a little too risky on the ground. He will literally get out of good positions, put himself in a bad position to set up a submission. And while that may work in certain circumstances, it's also unnecessary risk-taking because you're going to go from mount to rolling to your own guard to try to set something up. Well, what if that slips? Now you're just getting elbowed in the face. This is a fist fight, not a jiu-jitsu match. I am picking Rinya de Rider. I do think he wins this fight only because he can get takedowns, and historically, Kevin Holland cannot defend takedowns. But I fully recognize how good Kevin Holland is and how live he is in this fight. Kevin Holland in DraftKings Fantasy is priced as a favorite. In real life, he's the underdog. Enough money came in on the Rinya de Rider side that moved the line. So Kevin Holland is the underdog on your sports book, but favorite salary here. Obviously, we all know he's a laser pinpoint accurate striker. He is fast. His striking is incredible. But we also know he cannot defend a takedown. And that narrative went away. This little stretch here, when he lost to Brunson, then Vettori, the whole thing was like, this guy can't defend a takedown to save his life. This is a joke. He was getting taken down at will. It was insane. And then that narrative went away, but it wasn't because his takedown defense got good. He just stopped fighting wrestlers. And he moved down to 170 pounds. Kevin Holland is good. I love the personality. I hope he gets a win here. I'm really rooting for Kevin. I have no money on Rinya de Rider. I want Kevin to win. I want to show the world that these champions and other promotions can't compete at this level. Even a middle-of-the-road guy like Kevin Holland will smoke your two-division champion, former two-division champion. But he needs to be able to defend the takedowns. I don't know if that skill set is back. I don't know if he's developed those skills. Can he defend the takedowns? I don't know. I don't think he does. I'm going the Rinya side. Honestly, throwing him in your lineup at the underdog money, maybe not a terrible idea if he gets the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu going, but I mean, Rinya de Rider gets sloppy as hell. Kevin Holland's good. I'll be rooting for Kevin. It's okay to root against your lineup sometimes, especially in this case. Then we have Renato Moicano taking on Beneil Dariush. Here's another breakdown you guys aren't going to love. Renato Moicano is good. Renato Moicano is coming into his own, okay? This is also an old picture. His hair looks incredible in this picture. Well, Renato Moicano is a guy that was a bit of a journeyman for a while, but now he's on a 4-fight win streak. He's got the microphone, said the right things, had the right interviews on his YouTube channel. Now he's popular as hell. And that does matter because aura and energy does matter in the cage. It matters. Because I do not think Renato Moicano is the better fighter here. What is he? An okay striker with okay takedowns and good jiu-jitsu. That's what he is, right? He's not an amazing striker. He's not an amazing wrestler. Okay striker, okay wrestler, good jiu-jitsu. What he does do really well is if he's on top, he's just busy making stuff happen. Let me run you through his last couple of fights, though, okay? He beat Brad Riddell, who was a striker only that retired, okay? Good. Beat Drew Dober in a fight that he was going to lose. He was going to lose this fight, and then Drew Dober tried some lateral drop, pulled Renato on top of himself, and lost the round. That is how he beat Drew Dober. Then, so he's fighting for his life in that fight. Then Jailton Turner has Renato Moicano 99% knocked out. But instead of just landing one more punch to get the fight stopped, he turns around, walks away like he's the man, gives Renato time to recover. Jailton has an adrenaline dump. They come out in the second round. Jailton's just not even there anymore. He's not even the same human being. And then, he did just smoke Benoit Saint-Denis. He caught a kick. Once it got to the ground, just pounded away. But let's not forget, Renato took some shots and was getting smacked around a little bit in that fight. So Renato Moicano, all I'm trying to do here, I'm not shitting on the guy. I actually love the personality. It is better for the division if he wins. But he's a guy that has gotten to this position with guts. And guts are important, but it's guts that did this. Guts. And sometimes the skill on the other side can be a little overwhelming for just being gutty and tough. Beneil Dariush. You guys remember Beneil? In this stretch, let's look. Beat Thiago Moises. Beat Drew Dober. Beat Frank Camacho. Beat Drakkar Klose. Beat Scott Holtzman. Beat Diego Ferreira. Beat Tony Ferguson. Beat Gamrot. And he lost 2 in a row, and now everybody's like, oh, Beneil sucks. He's washed. He's old. You know these guys are the same age, right? They're both 35 years old. Beneil is 15 days older. 15 days. 2 weeks. He's 2 weeks older than Renato. And Renato's like, this old man. Why? Because he's got gray hair? First of all, phenomenal gray hair. Beneil Dariush, during this stretch, was touted as the uncrowned king, the future world champion. Beneil Dariush. Now, because Renato is awesome on a microphone and gutted through a few wins, Renato's going to steamroll Beneil, and Beneil sucks. That may happen. It may happen because Beneil did the thing you never want to hear from one of your favorite fighters is, if I don't win this fight, I'm probably done. It's like, shit. He's got retirement on the brain. But the reality is, Beneil Dariush is a world champion no-gi grappler. He's got some of the best takedown defense and scrambles I have ever seen. Go watch the Gamrot fight. Those scrambles were nuts. And Renato is not the wrestler that Gamrot is. Not even close. So I think Beneil has a very real chance to win this fight. I 100% think he can win this fight. Why? Because he got knocked out by the former world champion and then knocked out by potentially the champion come Saturday night. He sucks. Renato Moicano would get smoked by both of these gentlemen as well. I am on the Beneil side. I fully understand being on the Renato side. Again, this isn't trashing Renato Moicano. This is picking up our boy Beneil. The guy just wants a Tesla. I'm picking Beneil here. Then we have Jamal Hill taking on Yuri Prochazka. This is I'm not going to say controversial. It's not controversial. This is a conversation piece. That's not the right word. Of a fight. People hate Jamal Hill. This guy went from everybody loved him after beating Glover, right? He looked great in that win, looked great in these wins. He's a big dude. The boxing looks phenomenal. Takedown defense looks phenomenal. Putting on showcase fights. Yeah, he lost to Paul Craig, but that was a short notice step up. And, he got his arm just trapped after, following him to the ground, which he shouldn't have done. Then he puts together these wins, beats Glover in a showcase fight. 25 minutes of defending takedowns, being the better striker. Then he loses to Alex Pereira, goes on a world tour of cringe. Just literally managed to say all the worst things, do all the worst things, and just be an absolutely unlikable dude. But did his skills change? Is he still the guy that can defend takedowns insanely well and have that clean boxing with the incredible footwork? If he is still that guy, he wins this fight. He's got good boxing, great footwork, and great takedown defense. He's a very good fighter. He's the former world champion for a reason. So what I'm hoping isn't happening here is all the hate for the cringy bullshit he does is clouding your actual judgment of his skill set. And it might be doing that to me because I picked him to win. And I have flipped my pick because he started talking about how heavy he is. And obviously this is a few weeks ago, not today. Today are weigh-ins. Started talking about how heavy he is. Started talking about, I'm a big boy. And he was always kind of soft. But to be 240, 250, a couple weeks out from a fight, it's like, that could be a problem here. He's fighting Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka is a non-human. This guy's an animal savage who will take a beating, and as long as you're not Alex Pereira, will take an absolute beating, continue to come forward, and then somehow find the finish. Glover was beating him, found that finish. Dominic Reyes had him hurt, found that finish. Volkan Ozdemir had him hurt, found that finish. We will find out in this fight if Yuri Prochazka was just a flash in the pan or if he's the real deal. What I do like about Yuri, despite being a sloppy striker, is he is an animal. He's got nothing but guts. He believes in himself. In his mind, there's no way he loses. It's not a thing that exists. Losing doesn't exist in his mind. And I do think Jamal Hill is the better fighter, right? Jamal Hill clearly has better striking, but Yuri is the more powerful one. And as long as Alex Pereira didn't permanently destroy his chin, he's the more durable of the two. I think Yuri can win this fight. I absolutely think he can. It could look exactly like the Rotchik fight, where Jamal Hill's having success, being more technical, being the better fighter. And then Yuri just finds that spot, moves forward, breaks him, beats him. It could look exactly like that. So we'll find out. I'm probably not going to have either one of my DraftKings lineup because to me, this is a 50-50 fight. I'm also realizing I didn't break down the Zach Reese fight. Let's back up for a second. Let's go back to the undercard. Talk about Zach Reese. He has a brand new opponent, and he is a dog, but we're in a real trash situation here where he's priced as a favorite. As you know, in DraftKings Fantasy, they establish the pricing, and that's it. If you lose your opponent and you get a new opponent, your pricing doesn't change. Many times that works in our favor. We'll get an underdog who gets a new opponent. The underdog is then a massive favorite, and they're priced as a dog. We have the exact opposite here. Zach Reese was a huge favorite. He was going to murder ST Dumas. ST Dumas sucks at fighting. Zach Reese was therefore $8,800 in DraftKings Fantasy. Then he gets a new opponent. He is an underdog. Zach Reese is a 2-1 underdog, but he is priced as a 2-1 favorite. This is a weird situation, an annoying situation. You should not have Zach Reese in your lineup. You just shouldn't. Because he's priced as a favorite, and he probably doesn't win this fight. It is a good fight, though. Zach Reese, as we all know, powerful striker. He's very, coiled up and then just unleashes. He also has good jiu-jitsu, and he's a pretty dangerous guy. The wrestling is a bit He can be taken down. He can get some takedowns. The problem is, yes, he has power in his hands. Yes, he has dangerous jiu-jitsu, but his jiu-jitsu is too trusting on his side. He will lay on his back and play a jiu-jitsu game. Try to throw up a triangle. Try to throw up an armbar instead of scrambling and getting back to his feet. That's how he got power bombed by Cody Brundage, just hanging out on his back. Zach Reese is good. Zach Reese was going to murder his previous opponent, but he has a new opponent, a much tougher fight in Azamat Bakoyev. Azamat Bakoyev is good. He is also priced at $8,800. A really weird situation here. I don't know if I'd have him in my lineup either because he is a UFC debut. It is short notice, and he is undersized. He's 5'11". Zach Reese is 6'4". Azamat Bakoyev is 5'11". He is good. He's got power in his hands. He's got good wrestling. He's a well-rounded guy. He's been training with all the right people. He's coming into this after a full camp, not a true camp, meaning he wasn't training for a fight, but he was in camp with a lot of the other people on this fight card. So he was training with them day in and day out for their title shots, for their opportunities here. So Azamat should be in shape, should be ready to go. All the tape we've broken down, he's got plenty of cardio. He's got powerful hands. He will come forward, throw big right hands, and then shoot takedowns. His takedowns are powerful. He will body lock you, pick you up, and slam you down. I think Azamat wins this fight. I am picking him to win. But I'm not going to throw him in here at huge favorite pricing as a short notice UFC debut. So we're just going to leave that alone. But it is a weird situation here for DraftKings Fantasy. Bet-wise, I think you're okay to bet on Azamat. DraftKings Fantasy-wise, that's a lot of salary to tie up in a tricky fight here. He may not finish. He may finish. There's a lot going on here. Azamat is good, deserves a shot in the UFC. Just a little unfortunate because I know a lot of you still think that Zach Reese wins this fight. A lot of people, Zach Reese is a great dog. Zach Reese is a great dog. But unfortunately for DraftKings Fantasy, he's not a dog, so there's nothing you can do about it. So kind of stinks. It is what it is. Then we're going to go back to the main card. We have the co-main event of the evening. We have Umar Nurmagomedov getting his first crack at a title against Merab Davishvili. Umar Nurmagomedov. I said that wrong. I did it like Joe Rogan. Remember that? When Joe Rogan broke down the Nurmagomedov. He's like, and then here we have he literally just mumbled it and walked off. Pretty funny clip. Anyway, we have Umar Nurmagomedov. He's a very good fighter. He's good everywhere. You see the last name, you assume nonstop wrestler. He is a wrestler, but he's got phenomenal strike. He just outstruck Corey Sandhagen. He has great distance management, phenomenal kicks, great timing. He'll pop in, he'll pop out. It's absolutely insane how good this guy is. The only time he looked like a human being was for a half a second in this fight against Almeida, who got added on very short notice. So Almeida stepped up on short notice. He clipped Umar. Umar dropped, and then boom, right into the wrestling. Got that fight done. So we saw he can work through adversity. That's why he was so wrestle heavy in this fight, 11 minutes and 26 seconds, because of that clipping. He was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. Umar Nurmagomedov is the next generation of Nurmagomedov who has a phenomenal wrestling and not just adequate striking, but very good striking. He is one of the more complete fighters in this division, but this is obviously going to be the biggest test of his career, and it's against Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili is basically a nonstop wrestler. He doesn't do much else. I mean, he can strike, right? He's a world champion. He's got all the skills, but it is 90% nonstop wrestling. He's going to come forward, use his cardio as a weapon, get you against the cage, go to the legs, get you against the cage, go to the legs. He changed that up a little bit against Sean O'Malley. Instead of getting you against the cage, he would back up, Sean would chase him, and then he would shoot right in the middle of the octagon. So those takedowns were a lot cleaner in the Sean O'Malley fight than previous fights where he needed the cage. But he's taking down everybody. Took down Olympian Henry Cejudo. He also got a little wobbly wobble in that fight. Henry cracked him. Didn't quite get credit for a knockdown, but Merab was like, whoa. So you could question the chin, but until he's absolutely unconscious, it's going to be hard to do that. Ricky Simone obviously gave him a hard time, but he still took down Ricky 6 times. Merab Dvalishvili's nonstop wrestler is going to use that cardio. That's it. That's Merab. So the question becomes, will that nonstop forward pressure wrestling be enough to beat Umar, or is he going to go skill for skill and Umar's the better fighter? I think Umar wins. Umar is the better fighter. Skill for skill. Umar's by far the better striker. I think Umar's the better wrestler as well. Obviously, Merab is a very good wrestler. He's a Georgian. Georgians are good wrestlers. But I do think Umar's just the better wrestler. I mean, it is in their DNA. And if you watch his wrestling, it's incredible. It's clean. Merab relies more on the pressure and shot after shot after shot after shot than Umar does. Because Umar's getting it on the first or second shot, not the 5th or 6th. I am going to go with Umar here. And whatever side you're on, if you love Merab as a dog, great. I mean, he's priced very, very nicely. You should have either one of these guys in your lineup, potentially both if you think it's a wild back and forth roar, because you have 25 minutes to work with. And DraftKings loves takedowns. Then we have the main event of the evening, Islam Makhachev defending his belt against Arman Tsarukyan in a rematch. If we go back to that first fight, he beat Arman Tsarukyan right here. 2019, he scored 73 points in 3 rounds. He had 4 takedowns, only 14 strikes. Arman took Islam down. First person to do it. First person to take him down. Islam Makhachev, as we all know, is an absolute beast who is evolving at an incredible rate. His first fight with Alexander Volkanovski, he went to hell and back. Alexander Volkanovski took him down, had him on top, had Islam in some trouble. But Islam gutted through, got it done. They do the rematch, knocks Alex out. Completely different person, knocked him out. Islam Makhachev just went to hell and back with Dustin Poirier. People are like, well, Islam had staff. I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But what I do like to see in the first Volkanovski fight and the Poirier fight is, even though these are drag-em-out wars, closer than they should have been, right? He should have blown through Dustin Poirier. He should have blown through little-ass Volkanovski. The fact that he didn't blow through them is like, eh. But at the same time, we got to see that Islam is a dog. He doesn't quit. He might slow down, but he doesn't quit. He keeps coming. He is not a guy that's looking for a way out. He's not all hammer, no nail. He will be in an absolute dogfight, and he's not going anywhere. Islam Makhachev is an unbelievable wrestler with very improved striking that for the time being seems to be the best lightweight on planet Earth, and it is going to get tested. I do think Arman Tsarukyan is the second best lightweight on the planet. I've been a big Arman guy. Been picking him, been betting on him for a while now. And a lot of people are like, oh, he almost got knocked out by Joaquim Silva's old ass. I mean, he got a little rocked, but this is MMA. Islam got knocked out. Only one of these 2 men was unconscious, and it was Islam in that one and only loss. Arman Tsarukyan is very, very good. Very good. He's an unbelievable wrestler. He's got fast hands, decent power. He's very good. But I don't think Arman Tsarukyan can win this fight. If we go back to the Gamrot fight, I thought Arman looked good in that fight. I thought Arman, you could argue, won that fight. But that's just not how it went, is it? Because Gamrot had more takedowns. Gamrot had the takedown defense. And while Arman's doing a great job taking down most people, he's not taking down elite wrestlers. And I think that's going to be the difference here. I don't think he's going to have much success trying to take down Islam. I think Islam's going to have far more success initiating the takedowns. I've said this for years. You wrestle a wrestler. It is much harder to defend a takedown than it is to finish one. And if Islam pushes the wrestling pace, which he does, He'll get the takedowns. Arman off his back, I imagine, is pretty useless. This is going to be a very interesting fight. The co-main and the main are very fun. And frankly, even though I'm confident in Arman and in Usman, those fights could go either way and it wouldn't be surprising. Great fights, great card. Guys, unlock everything Premium has to offer, including the DraftKings ownership projections, including the DraftKings optimizer, including the bets, the picks, the artificial intelligence. By far the most comprehensive, robust suite of tools, insight, and information that you have ever needed heading into a fight weekend, and it's $10. $10 for a month. UFC Saudi Arabia is the next card, and that's a spectacular card. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. The proof is in the pudding. This crew has won $720,000 in 1 year. Obviously, it's quite a few people, but they paid $10. They're sharing their tickets. They're sharing the insight. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Good luck this weekend. I am looking very much forward to this fight. It feels like we are actually back, and I'm loving it.